What's the cat in it?
They tried to keep us down. The elites, you know what they do. They fucking shadow ban you. They do this and that. They algorithm you, but they can't keep us down, can they, Oscar? We're back. The
Ja,
podcast is back.
ja,
What is that voice?
guten Tag. What?
That, this is my German associate from Stuttgart.
Hallo, ich come from Stuttgart.
Yeah.
I don't know if that didn't really sound German at all. Actually, I can't lie.
I don't think those are German words.
I think "ich" is a German word.
Yeah, but they say ich.
I don't think they do.
No, they don't
They're
say
like,
ich. They say ich.
ich habe einen
Ich
Pencilstapel.
habe.
I don't know.
Well, either
This
way,
German's a weird language, just in general.
it is. It really is. Like, it's weird how Germans feel completely normal speaking German.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. No hate to any of my German bros over there.
Mm.
No hate, no hate. But
But
when
you
you
know who
see
you are, like, come on.
when you see Germans talking, you can't think it's not like a little bit just odd that
Just,
you don't necessarily feel with other languages.
like, it's curious, you know, like, it's an oddity.
If I see like a Mexican guy speaking Spanish, I'm like, ooh, you
You're
know,
like, ooh, yeah,
I'm like, ooh,
ooh,
like Narcos Mexico, like
yeah.
or just any Narcos really. Like I know the other ones are in
Yeah, there's
Colombia.
certain languages where
Yeah,
you're like, you are captivated by
yeah,
hearing
their
them.
language and their accent is like, oh, it's like so just like,
I'd say,
I don't
like,
know,
Mexican
it's
and
amazing.
Russian are, like, two of the
Russian as
coolest
well.
languages to, like, listen to.
Russian as well, yeah, definitely. But German, it's like I don't know. It's not in the same way that French is also a bit weird. It's not in the same way. I think with German, it's because like I don't know, the language itself seems a bit just silly, you know.
Yeah, some languages are like that. They're like, you, it's Polish is like that as
I'm
well.
not drawing any comparisons to Hitler here, just because but Hitler was
I think
a
Hitler's
very
like,
famous person who spoke German.
yeah, he's.
And
I
if you
feel
listen
like
to his speeches, I can't be like, yeah, that guy knows what he's doing, you know? So I listen to his speeches and he's speaking German, and I'm like, what? It just doesn't seem very captivating. I mean, maybe if that's what you've been raised with, then you're like,
well, the
oh,
like what element might be stemming from the fact that you don't understand what he's saying. But
but also like sometimes I do get a bit weirdly like dissociated with words, like I'll listen to a word and I'll like say the word and then the word will sound weird. Do you ever have that?
oh yeah,
Where like,
everyone has that.
yeah, but I feel like with a German person, they must experience that double, you know?
Well, they
They're
have
like,
really long words as well. Like,
what the fuck is this language I'm speaking? You know? I mean, they're speaking English,
I
so
don't
it
know,
doesn't
cause
count,
there's
but
this German streamer that sometimes I watch, and he has these like swears and like words that he says that he just says like 500 times a stream, and I don't know. I feel like he doesn't lose the meaning in them. Like he says "Alter" all this time, but he speaks English obviously. But he says these like German words when he gets angry.
yeah.
Das ist Spucke Jinge. Like
What does that mean?
I don't know, like you dumb child, something like that.
Fucking hell.
Like stupid you.
Yeah, no, German is definitely a pretty interesting language, but I mean, it's weird because people say like English and German have like common roots,
They
but
do when like
and I'm
wh-
sure they do, but it's
when
just you can't really tell a
in
lot of the time.
yeah, a lot of the time you can't when normal people just sort of speak. But you know how in movies and shit, like actors they enunciate a lot because they you want to actually be able to clearly understand what they're saying, more so than normally.
Yeah,
When I was watching that Barbarians show, the Germans speaking German in that, like I would clearly notice when some words sounded really similar to English.
I'm dentist. Yeah,
No,
like that's gonna be
surprisingly
dentist.
enough, they don't mention dentists in in barbarians in the Roman
Oh
times.
well, they probably had a different word for it back then. They probably didn't have real dentists. I mean, it was probably just people just pulled your teeth out with like a rusty bit of metal, really.
Yeah. Well, also like teeth care wasn't really a thing because they didn't have sugar or anything. Like the teeth didn't get fucked up.
Maybe that's why it's called like a dentist. You know what I mean? Like they're just bashing the teeth, making like dents and shit. That's what it used to be.
I'm gonna
There
look
wasn't
up the
any of
origin
this
of like dentist
anesthesia. There
or
wasn't,
dental.
you know, there wasn't like anesthetics. You know, there weren't like I don't know what do they use in modern dentist offices to pull out teeth? I'm pretty sure they still just use like a couple bits of metal or whatever.
So
Some
apparently,
device.
Latin dens slash dent equals tooth.
Oh well, thanks for just proving me completely wrong while we're broadcasting
Well, that's
to
what I
the
do, man. I gotta
entire
fact check
globe.
you. I'm your Joe Rogan to I'm the Joe Rogan to your Alex Jones.
Nah,
Can you hear those fireworks?
well, not probably presumably not the ones you're hearing, but yeah, I do hear fireworks.
Let's just started firing them off. In oh my god, they're like right outside my house.
Bonfire night was yesterday. Why are we still firing fire? We don't need fireworks every fucking night. But yeah, no, I saw some in like a neighbor's garden the other day. They were literally just launching it from their garden, and I saw it like go up and shit and explode. And I was like, yo, what the fuck?
These are like when you look out my window and you see those warehouses and there's like that sort of area,
Yeah,
open area, literally firing it from there.
Jesus. Maybe they're in like a November party for the offices of, United Van Company or whatever. I don't fucking know.
Maybe they're celebrating that they're not getting shut down as a result of the lockdown. They're like, yes, we're gonna survive. Because it's like a
Yeah.
lottery at this point. You're like, is my business, is my life's work just gonna end, or will I just about get by with my life?
I mean, if my life work came to an end, I mean, I don't think many people really notice, to be honest. I haven't really done that much, done that
Really?
much life work, you know. But maybe that is what this is. Maybe it's a passing of the torch, you know.
Oh yeah.
Maybe, maybe that's
Well,
what it
it's like
is.
the tightening, right? There's too much, so we could just kind of like cut off a bunch of it, just sort of randomly, and then just you open it up again, and then there's more room for people to fill it out.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's all part of evolution, really,
It's just
you
a
know.
wave.
And I'm no authoritarian or anything, but might makes right. If you didn't realize that.
Well, maybe like
No.
spiritual might, like the might of your consciousness, its potential to manifest its
Yeah.
will in reality.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean actual physical might, because
Yeah.
obviously we got guns now. Well, I mean, we don't, because we're in the UK. But in general,
Feels bad, man.
some people have guns,
Dude,
and in those
imagine like
places,
if we
a
lived in
five foot
America.
one granny, a 5 foot one granny could kill the mountain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
can just like 5 foot one granny, just bow. Mountain dead.
How
And
many
maybe take like
shotgun
a couple
blasts
shots.
would it take to take down the mountain?
Depends where you hit him. Probably like one if you hit him in the right place.
Just sort of like, so you imagine he's like 20 meters away from you, and you just sort of aim at him, right? Sort of
I don't
vaguely in
know
the
if I'd
middle.
want a shotgun if it was like
Yeah.
20 meters away. I don't know.
Well, if it's got
How
slugs,
close is
then
20
that's
meters?
gonna do quite well at 20
How
meters.
close is 20 meters?
It's a bit far for like a normal
That's like
burst
nearly a
shotgun.
swimming pool. That's like nearly a swimming pool.
Yeah. But shells, they like they're more focused. They sort of like it goes out and then it bursts. So that would be all right for 20 meters.
Well, I mean, I'd probably want to head towards his like, well, aim towards his like chest.
And also remember that he's going towards you, so he's going to be getting closer. So it's just 20 meters is where like you start shooting at him and you get a couple shots in.
I think I would wait a little bit though. I think I'd wait for him to close the distance a bit more. Maybe get to like 15, 10, 15 meters, you
That's a
know?
bit risky though, don't you think?
Yeah, but
Because what if
you
it's
got
not
you
enough?
got to
What?
play risk. Look, this granny is like 91 years old, yeah,
Because as
right?
long as
She's
you have
taken
enough
risks her
ammunition,
whole life.
like, are you going to empty
But what
the
if you
amount of
don't have
shells?
enough ammunition?
What if?
What
Well,
if you
if you
got
don't,
one shot?
right?
If you got one shot, you'd want to wait for him to get like pretty close, and then just like blam,
If
in the
I had a
sort of
one shot,
chest
I'll be honest,
slash neck
I'd
area.
just like try to run, like I'd be trying to get some more ammunition.
Above the mountain, have you seen like he's pretty tall? Have you seen his legs? He can just like outrun you,
Well, if he
you know?
gets close, then I'll turn around and shoot him. But
No, then it's too late. He'll be on you. He'll jump at you, you know? You
maybe.
can't turn your back. He's like a tiger. Tigers attack when you turn your back, and that's a fact. Jack. You get me?
Yeah, yeah,
And the mountain is pretty similar.
yeah. Well, but how much agility does he have? Is he in his armor? That's another thing.
Um,
And
I
is
don't
this
know.
zombie mountain or pre-zombie mountain?
I don't even remember how Zombie Mountain did die.
I think he just got crushed by collapsing palace or something.
So he could still be alive.
Well, I think it was implied that he was dead.
Well, yeah, but it was implied that Darth Maul was dead.
Yeah, but Game of Thrones isn't getting any sequels.
Well, there might be. There might be like some fucking spin-offs or some
I
shit.
mean, there'll be
That's what it's
like
all about nowadays. It's
there'll,
all about
there'll be
spin-offs.
new series about like just some other stories of George R. R. Martin in that world, but they're like way before the events
But
of Game of Thrones.
look at like TV nowadays. It's all about spin-offs, you know? Like Star Wars, you got shit like The Mandalorian. Like Marvel, you got all the new Marvel TV shows, that are gonna come out in
Yeah,
like
but they're all
2020.
new characters, right? There isn't like, oh,
No,
this guy's coming back.
some of them, well, not a lot of them aren't dead characters, but like some of them aren't like new characters. A lot of them are like characters from the films and shit, you know?
Yeah, but they it wasn't implied that they died. Although, wait, is Boba? Is that like when?
Boba Fett, he's in the Mandalorian.
When's the Mandalorian?
I
Seven.
think it's after episode 6, and he like supposedly died in episode 6. He fell down that Sarlacc pit or whatever.
Yeah. Although I mean,
But he did, like,
I feel like people always knew that he wasn't.
I think that was the origin of Japanese tentacle porn. Like they were like, oh, Americano tentacle.
Oscar, I'm sorry to break it to you, but Japanese tentacle was a porn was like a thing before the Japanese even knew about America.
Ah, fuck, really?
Hentai has been around for hundreds of years.
Really?
Yeah, just in written form.
What?
Yeah, and they would like,
Just like just like fanfic,
yeah, just erotica, like,
just erotica.
and they would have tentacle stuff in it, yeah,
Hmm.
and they would have like drawings as well.
Was it in the same style?
I mean, it was sort of proto manga, I guess you could call it, or proto anime.
That is whack.
But
I was listening
once
to
like
like
digital, like graphical animation came along to Japan, then it developed into what it is now.
a shit show.
There's a lot of it, yeah. It's just kind of spewing out everywhere.
There's fuckloads. I mean,
It's like fractal. It never ends.
one of the weird things is like how many Japanese things aren't in that style? How many Japanese cartoons aren't in that style?
Well, that's the thing. It's not like a. That's just the way Japanese cartoons are. Same way like American cartoons were sort of in a style. I mean, there's different variations on
Yeah,
the
but
style,
nowadays, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Nowadays, like,
but so does no, not well, hentai and anime. They also have variations on the style.
I mean, obviously, I'm no expert because I've never watched anime,
Like there's big differences between
but
say Naruto animation and Pokemon animation and other ones as well.
I
Like
don't know. It all looks pretty similar to me. I can't lie.
Death Note animation or
I don't know what that
Steins
is.
Gate animation or Attack on Titan. They're all slightly different in their own ways.
Whenever I see a picture of something that looks anime, it looks the same
Well, that's just. I guess
as
that's
all the
just.
other pictures I've seen.
Yeah. I mean, that just goes with anything that you're just not really familiar with that you haven't looked into in any capacity. Because obviously I had that when I didn't like anime, which was like that was like year up to year 7 and 8, and then like Alex, he started watching Naruto, and then he got everyone else to watch it.
Well, yeah, no, it just seems yeah, maybe I am just coming from like a Western centric perspective, you know, like that is entirely possible. Because I mean, I can see like the differences between like American animated shows, which maybe a Japanese person wouldn't really notice as much. Like F is for Family, you know, with Bill Burr.
Mhm.
And I've heard him talk about it, and I've heard Duncan Trussell also talking about it in reference to Midnight Gospel, which is like in both scenarios they have to come up with a consistent theme that's different, like a consistent art style that's different to everything else that's come out before it or will come out, but also consistent with itself. And it's like a really hard thing to do, and they like focus on all the tiny details, like you know what color should this rolling pin be or whatever, you know,
Yeah. No,
what color should this
I,
bread knife be,
I actually
you know,
sort
it's
of
all this
like
shit.
that does come up when I do my drawings as well, like trying to
But they
keep
all
the
look different.
consistency of the drawing.
But they all look different, and that's my point. The Simpsons looks way different to like F's for
Yeah.
Family
But again, there's that like common theme.
or
Like American
Futurama.
animation has all this like sort of fat, roundish characters. Everything's like really rounded off and stuff. They're sort of like chunky in a way, whereas anime is like really sharp. There's a lot of sharp edges and angles and stuff, and there's things are more
Yeah,
likely to be like really thin. So there's just sort of archetypal differences, and there's sort of various variations that go
but
off
do
of
you
that.
think like someone who came from like an Asian culture would look at all the different like, they would look at like Futurama and F is for Family and think like that's basically the same exact style?
Well, only if they
In
were
the
very
state,
ignorant.
so yeah, probably you're probably right because I am pretty ignorant of their shit.
Yeah. But you're not anymore because you're realizing that actually it's all relative in that way.
But I still
I
am not.
think there
Yeah,
probably is more variation for various reasons. First of all, like American just sort of industry and the quantity of it is so much more, and there's a bigger focus on sort of independent creation, right? And that goes in the cultural thing as well. It's more individualist. So the emphasis on being unique is far greater than in Japanese culture, where they just sort of appreciate everything having being the same. Like if it works, and that's what they like.
yeah, you need your in America or like just here as well, like just the West. You need your thing to stand out from everything else,
Yeah.
you know. And you don't realize because generally a lot of these anime characters do look the same, but there's something about them that makes them all different. That makes it so that they can't travel cross worlds, you know.
Yeah.
That it wouldn't make sense because all their art styles are slightly different and they'd look completely out of place in any of the other animated worlds that exist.
Mm. And it's so uncanny, when there's like crossovers or whatever, or even more than that, when you get like something, from its original style and you try and do like a version of it in another one, and it feels so
Oh,
uncanny to look at it. And
like the
that's what.
3D Simpsons. So you seen like the Simpsons,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
3D.
yeah.
Oh my days, that shit is weird. That shit is so weird.
Which is like why live action versions of animated stuff are always, pretty much always, like terrible and
Apart
disliked.
from apart from Shrek the musical,
Of course, I love
which
Shrek the
is a
musical. I've
masterpiece.
watched that so many times. I had it like torrented, and I would just watch it. Like, I actually loved it. It's like a completely. It's a thing of its own. You know, it's a
Yeah,
standalone fucking
yeah.
experience. Like,
Oh fuck, I've never actually watched that either, to be honest. I haven't watched fucking anything.
mm,
Apparently, haven't watched Shrek the musical.
you're not very
How
cultured, are
how
you?
how good is Shrek the musical? Is it?
It's from a meme perspective, it's wonderful. In terms of like genuine quality, it's not that bad. You know, like it's Shrek. You know, like it has the good parts of Shrek's, story and stuff in it. Plus they sing, which is kind of entertaining.
It's
I've,
not the actual actors though. There's some like knockoffs, isn't it?
well, you wouldn't want the actual voice actors to play the physical roles,
I
would you?
actually would. I think that'd be sick. If you got Mike Myers, or is that
Oh,
his name?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. If you got him in the massive Shrek costume, yeah,
The
painted in
guy
green.
who they chose looks like it looks like he would look like an ogre without all the makeup.
Although wait, Eddie
Although
Murphy's dead.
although I guess that's just really good. Well, they got another black guy for it, and he did pretty well. And accent-wise, they're pretty decent.
Or is that in the newer ones? Or when did Eddie Murphy die? I'm pretty sure he was in number one and number two.
Eddie Murphy, did he die?
I'm pretty sure he died. Wait, his brother died. Or maybe Eddie Murphy didn't
No,
die
he's
actually.
59 years old. He's alive.
Oh,
He was born in
oh wait.
1961.
Oh, I think I'm thinking of Charlie Murphy, but then he didn't play Donkey. Yeah, no,
Maybe
I'm not.
Maybe Charlie Murphy played Donkey in the musical.
I don't think so. I think the musical was. I don't know when Charlie died either. Actually,
Charlie died in 2017.
really? Oh, fairly recently then. He was on Joe Rogan. Um, I know that much. So it was definitely like, well, yeah, 2017, I guess. But I knew it was definitely like post Joe Rogan,
Mm.
post Rogan. Yeah. You ever seen like Chappelle Show?
I've seen clips.
Yeah. No, I've seen clips. Yeah. That shit is funny. And that's got like Charlie Murphy in it. Charlie Murphy, man.
God, they always have like, if you actually pay close attention, the makeup that they have on the actors and musicals is really weird.
Yeah.
It's so over the top.
Yeah. That's why theatres are fucking dead. I mean, I don't know anyone who goes to the theatre.
I went to the
I don't go
theatre
to the theatre.
once for like Christmas once with my
My
family.
grandparents, my grandparents would take me to the theatre. I think my parents would take me to the theatre, but I've never willingly been like, let's go to the
Oh
theatre.
yeah, no, fuck that.
I
I
mean,
mean, I don't like musicals
it's
at all.
fucking dead. Like you're just sitting there. It's not even like a movie because a movie's got like good music for a start,
Yeah.
convincing actors, and generally like even if the plot is not as good, like the actors aren't so fucking camp that you're completely lost on the plot and everything seems ridiculous. That's one of the problem with theaters is that the actors just they aren't convincing at all. They're so over the top. And thine my heart is lone again or some shit. You know, like it's all like this over the
I
top
don't know,
getting.
man. That's pretty convincing.
You know,
You could
like
convince me that you're a theatre actor.
I could, yeah, if I could convince you I was a theatre actor, but I couldn't. Maybe I could actually be a theatre actor. It doesn't seem too hard to be honest. Um, But then I
I
don't
mean,
think it's
in
film
a way,
editing.
theatre's
It's
like
film
more
editing
honest
industry.
than like filming and like movies,
Well,
because
yeah, there's
it's
not as
like,
much editing.
yeah, it's like blatantly a performance. You're going for the performance rather than to see some sort of simulation of some sort of an
Yeah,
alternative reality.
but that's boring because I want to see a different reality. I want to. I don't want to see these fucking like guys going, "Oh no, my love is gone." You know, I
Like,
don't want to. I don't want to
I
see
want
that.
to see the love die.
And thy the night he struck me down with one fell blow of his blade, and thus I die alone,
And thus I die.
my country in tatters.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, it's all fucking. Oh, it's so. Oh, it's just bent. It is bent. I'm sorry, like not like not homosexual, just bent. You know,
Yeah.
just. Whereas a movie, you can go there and you can actually be engrossed in the story rather than just thinking like, what the fuck are these people doing with their time? Because you forget they're actors a lot of the time. You know,
Yeah.
like if the movie's good, the story's convincing, and the actor themselves is really good, you forget they're actors. They are characters. You know, when Iron Man died, everyone knew that Robert Downey Jr. was still alive, but Iron Man had died.
I don't
You
know. I
know, and
kind of felt
everyone was
like
sad.
Robert Downey Jr. had actually died, to be honest.
Everyone, well, okay, but everyone was like, everyone was fucking sad that a character died. You know, because you forget the character is fake for a bit. In a way, that character is real. You know, that's like a person that well, you don't know them, but you do kind of know them. You know, you've seen all this shit with them in. You know,
The character is real.
I had a little tear in my eye when Tony Stark died when I watched it the first time in the cinema
And the
when I
third,
watched it.
and the fourth, and the 10th, and the 11th. But only those.
Yeah, I'm not that much of a crybaby. I only cried, like less than 10
Only when I had the vodka bottle with me.
times with like makeup streaking down my eyes.
A mascara. Just fucking weeping. I don't know.
I don't what
Maybe
like
maybe it's good
yeah.
to drink while watching Avengers.
Um, I don't know if I've done that before. I might have. I mean, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for me to have.
'Cause you've
Been-
like watched Endgame and the one before that uh like a bunch of times, right?
I've only watched Endgame twice.
Ah, so it was the one before. What was that one?
Yeah, Infinity War.
Yeah, yeah.
I watched that one a bunch of times. Yeah,
And you were like high sometimes and like varying degrees and stuff. What's the difference
yeah.
in that? 'Cause that's actually a decent sample size of data.
Um, I don't know if I've ever actually watched it sober, to be honest. I
Right,
think
yeah.
every time I was probably bunning,
Mm.
at least smoking a bit of weed. Um, when did Infinity War come out? Was it Endgame came out in 2019, didn't it?
Damn, that's a while ago now.
Yeah, so Infinity War came out in 2018. It's only 2 years ago.
Little did we know the actual Endgame was coming out next year.
Word. That's probably why they do that, the media, to like prepare like the
Mm.
population.
Speaking of that, actually, I wanted to get onto this. And the actual Endgame, you've said that they're gonna do the alien invasion, right? The fake
I
alien
think at
invasion.
some point, yeah, they're gonna do a fake alien
What do you
invasion.
think the timeline
That's
is on
oh,
that?
well, I don't know. That's it's just very possible.
Mm. But like, so they've. Like, I'm wondering, like, what is the process from getting from the sort of pandemic introduction, right? Now, obviously, their plan has worked out because Biden has won, which wouldn't have happened if not for coronavirus. And so, how do we get from here to like getting to a point where the
Well,
alien
I'm
invasion
not
is the
I'm
right?
not as sure as like other people that Trump is like some next messiah. I just know that Biden is a corrupt piece of shit.
Well, I
You
would
know,
assume that they would want to usher in Biden because he's gonna like be more useful
I'd
for
assume
setting
Biden
America
is,
up for the
yeah,
invasion more.
I'd assume Biden is more controllable by the deep state.
I mean,
You know,
he literally will have no input of his own, so
yeah.
it'll all
So
just be the people around him.
exactly. So whereas Trump, I'm pretty sure, like he's a bit of a cunt, but at the same time, he seems less viable. I don't know. You know, it seems like most
Yeah.
what he like Kanye, yeah.
Well, what has Alex Jones said that because Trump
Like
supposedly isn't buyable, they buy the people around him?
yeah, I don't know. Like I haven't listened to Alex Jones in time,
That was
apart
on the
from when
Joe
he was on
Rogan.
Joe Rogan. Apart from when he was on Joe Rogan, I didn't honestly. I didn't think that Joe Rogan was as good as the other two, and I think I know why.
He
I
was
think I know
sober.
why. Yeah, well, I think well, it wasn't the fact that he was sober. I think it was the fact that Alex was the only one drinking.
Yeah, Alex, he really looked like he had a drinking problem in that.
Exactly. Like Joe was just like, you know, you drunk half a bottle of whiskey. It's like what?
That's
He's been sitting there for
that accent.
like an hour and a half. Well, all right, so I can't do like differing American accents.
No,
Like
no,
Joe
no. It's
Rogan.
fun. It's just funny to imagine like Joe Rogan speaking it like that.
Yeah, word. I can't do
Cause,
voices like
cause
that.
he has like a
American
California
voices.
accent. I think it'd be better if he had stuck with his like New Jersey accent or whatever the fuck he had.
Boston. Yeah.
Boston, yeah.
Joe has a fairly neutral accent though. By the way, like Alex Jones had drunk like half a bottle of whiskey in like an hour and a half or whatever. And he's like he's fucking he is drunk, you know, he is actually drunk.
Mm,
Joe is completely sober, you know. Tim
yeah,
Dillon's completely sober, you know.
yeah. I mean, you
The
don't
thing with
need
Eddie is
Tim Dillon to be, you know, he is your drug, but high on
well
life, as he
that's
said.
true as well. But
But
like
Joe Rogan, he was like on edge or somehow, you know, and it was just like it was just like you know they were like it was constant some form of like escalation instead of like resetting things down to a baseline, and so it just sort of
yeah,
kept
like
building. Like Joe Rogan was just sort of getting he was getting more intense. He wasn't getting less intense.
it seemed like Joe was getting just annoyed with Alex.
Yeah.
And I think that's because he was sober and Alex was drunk.
Mm.
And I think Tim Dillon seeing Alex in a drunk state, probably sort of conscious, well, maybe not consciously, but his brain just sort of sided with Joe more, being like, yeah, let's try and be reasonable as opposed to believing the fucking drunk guy, you
You
know,
saying
or
Tim Dillon
arguing
was
for.
acting reasonable in that?
Well, more reasonably, like he'd back up the things that he knew about, but he wouldn't like put his like faith
I
into
mean, his
saying
whole thing is that he
that.
isn't really serious about anything that he says. He's
Well,
just
yeah.
sort of like doing things like whatever. Like it's all part of the act.
Well, yeah, I'm aware of that. I just think that, you know, with Eddie Bravo, you know, Eddie Bravo doesn't need to be high on fucking anything or drunk or anything. Because
He's
he's
definitely high
already,
on life. Like he's
well, yeah, exactly. He's already fucked. Just
yeah,
alone. He doesn't need any substances.
yeah.
He's already buggered. And whereas like Tim Dillon, like he is really fucking funny, but it wasn't necessarily like a fun one of the funnier podcasts, especially because Alex was only drinking. Alex was the only one drinking. There wasn't really much of that like fun sort of things. Like in the second one with Alex Jones, there was like I don't know the bit where he says I'm kind of retarded. Like that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
so fucking funny, and there were a bunch of like times where he
That
just said
was a
congratulations.
watershed moment.
It was so fucking funny. There was nothing really like that in that the third one, which was kind of sad to be honest.
Yeah. Well, it's because yeah, I think you know
I
if
think they
Joe
all need
Rogan
to
was just
smoke a bit of weed.
high, then
I
he
think
would
yeah,
have.
I think Joe needs to smoke a bit of weed, have a couple shots of whiskey, you
And
know.
obviously, you know, it's like in the situation where you're not going to get Joe Rogan to do it because he doesn't want to do it, which is every situation, because you can't make Joe Rogan do something that he doesn't want to.
Yeah, word.
So in that situation, obviously Alex Jones shouldn't have kept trying to get him to do it, but because he was drunk, he was trying because that's what you do. You know, when you're fucked up, you want other people to get fucked up with you. So
Exactly.
it's just yeah, it didn't click.
The thing is, it's I think part of it is because Alex Jones isn't like a. I think he said he had drinking problems before, but I think he said he
He's
was
gone
getting clean.
like he's gone like sober, but he's not like clean now. He's like he just went like 2 months or something sober this year, but
Yeah,
he's drinking now.
but is he drinking like all the time?
I don't think so. I mean, he seems like he was obviously drunk then, but I've seen him like since like on election night he was on another podcast. They were
Thing
doing a
is,
live
yeah,
thing,
like
and he seemed like his normal
podcast,
self. Like he was sort of on the ball,
every Joe
intense.
Rogan podcast with Doug Stanhope, Doug is drunk, you know,
Mm.
or at least getting there, or
Yeah.
he's always drinking or whatever, or he has drunk. Whereas and everything seems fine, you know, it's all funny. But Alex Jones, because you haven't really like seen him in that context, because I think Doug's probably got used to that sort of context,
Well, he's
where
definitely a
he's
functioning
always
alcoholic.
yeah, he's always drinking in public, like because Joe Rogan experience basically is public, at least the actual bit that you see, you know,
Yeah.
the 3 hours that you see or whatever,
Yeah,
you
and he
know,
would drink on
he's
stage when
much
he would
more used to
perform
that.
and all this, you
Exactly,
know.
exactly. He's much more used to that. Whereas Alex Jones is like he's just like drunk. Like it would look like it's the sort of same if like I don't know, you or I were drunk. I don't I don't know. Like we would probably just act pretty similarly, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, nah. I mean it was good, but they didn't touch on a lot of shit that I thought they were gonna touch on as well. Like
Yeah, I mean, as interesting of a thing like the fact checking thing was, like I appreciate that at least we have gotten some experience of that, because you know sometimes you would get like frustrated, like oh, I wish they had actually looked deeper into this specific thing, right? But because they were just trying to go through everything, they couldn't really do it very well because there's just so much. Um, and it also meant that they didn't really get to all the things that you might want to.
yeah, and it meant there wasn't really much of like of a good flow, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that too.
That's the other thing. Like, they fact check the most annoying bits. You know, they fact check the bits that just like disrupts the flow, as opposed to like. I mean, I don't remember. I only watched it once because you know. I mean, I'll probably watch it again at some point. Maybe my opinion will change. But yeah, I
It's
definitely thought
like
like
you know
the first
when you're
was
drunk, you're trying to like Alex Jones was trying to just like have an experience, whereas Joe Rogan was more being just analytical about the experience. You know,
yeah,
like Alex Jones was riding the wave, Joe Rogan was trying to like put it apart and see what it's made of, and so you have this like mismatch of intent, I guess.
yeah. So basically, what I'm saying is, for I have no clue what the end game is at this point.
Mm.
uh, based on anyone. I've got no clue. I would assume if it was me and I was gonna detail what's gonna happen over the next couple decades, you know, well, not detail, overview, a basic
Opposite of
outline,
detail.
opposite of detail. Yeah, complete opposite. I'd say over the next few, like, if Biden's pretty much seems like it's gonna win, unless some next miracle shit happens, like,
In which case, I will be convinced that Trump is the second coming of Christ.
yeah.
Because I
In
mean,
case that shit happens, then
if
I
he
think
because like it's like imagine because like nobody expected him to win in 2016, right? And he pulled it off, and now everyone was like, well, we know that that happened, but so we'll bide our time, you know. We're not gonna be like, oh, Biden's got it. But then once it seems like, oh, the results do actually seem to indicate that Biden's gonna win, just when you get your hopes up, then he pulls it on you again, and you just completely collapse and scream. Just like
yeah, I mean
last time.
that'd be pretty smart. But take a lot of planning though to like
Yeah,
work out.
he's not really I
Because
mean,
Biden's
that's what I'm
at like
saying, like this is going to have to require divine intervention. This isn't actually Trump's doing, you know.
yeah. So either way, let's just assume Biden's gonna win
Yeah.
at this point.
Just for
I think
simplicity's sake, so you have to like have two timelines going.
I think what we'll see is Biden says he's gonna raise taxes on like the on like the wealthiest Americans and shit, then what actually happens is he raises taxes on the middle class. He
Hmm.
actually does raise taxes on the wealthiest Americans, but of course the big companies still don't pay taxes.
Yeah, they're not gonna pay those taxes.
Because why are they gonna what, why are they gonna pay more if they already don't pay any? Like they're not gonna pay more. Like, the people who already pay it might continue paying it, or they might be like, okay, why are we still paying this? This is way too much. Like, so they're gonna fuck off. That's part of the problem. Like every time you try and like raise the taxes or whatever on the 1% just fuck off. What you have to do, ask if you ask the political expert like me, what you'd have to do is you'd have to say anything sold in this country has to go through this country's taxes. You know, any money made in America has to go through American taxes. You know, or you can't sell. You know.
Yeah, I mean there are like taxes. There's like taxes on stocks and stuff like that, but those are usually really low because obviously the stock market needs to be supported like a fucking child with a health condition, right? So they're not going to have high taxes on people investing because they desperately want people to invest.
Yeah. So nothing will really change there except probably like the rich will just continue to get way richer. Like Bezos, he'll probably make some money back after his divorce, or whatever. Bill Gates make some money. All of them, they'll be making money. It'll be it'll be good for them. The rest of us will be like, oh, well, guess it's just another fucking 4 years as usual, really. Um, and then we'll probably find some more like NSA surveillance shit going on under Biden. Probably, I'd assume
Biden's
so.
not going to like do anything with like anything. That's the thing. Like you can't expect there to be any progress made in
Biden
the secret
Biden himself
services or any of
is
that
not
shit.
going to do anything.
Yeah.
He is not going to uncover more Epstein people. That's not going to happen. That will completely stop. We are not going to keep
It's interesting
seeing
though
like
because what if
Epstein shit
Biden
coming up.
actually dies and then Kamala Harris actually becomes president? Like what would she do?
Probably the same shit. Like we know that she was awful when she ran California or whatever, because she was just locking people up who it's like everyone knew was innocent, and she just kept trying to lock them up because it's like they already put up with the case and they want to like prove they're right and all that sort of shit. They want to get up the numbers for how many people incarcerated and stuff. It's a fucked system. It's a fucked system. I mean, I think Kamala's probably just gonna do what the deep state tells her as well. Though I mean, she doesn't seem like the type to go all fucking authoritarian on her own. She's not gonna become like some next leader or whatever. She's just gonna do what the fucking money men say. I mean,
Mm.
at the elections, at the democratic like primaries, the democratic elections for the party, who was gonna be like the party nominee, she was calling Biden a fucking racist. You know,
Yeah.
she was calling Biden a fucking racist, and then like when she got questioned like on it after becoming his like vice president, she was like, "Well, that was just a debate." It's like what? So you don't stand by that. You just thought you'd throw it out there that some
It
blonde's
was
racist.
a debate. It was a
I know
debate.
it's ridiculous. Should we take a break?
Oh mate, I was actually thinking that. Just gonna round it off on that sweet, sweet 44. So a friend of ours watched the podcast, right? And she said like it was really intellectual. That was nice to
Yeah,
hear actually.
that was. I was like, what the hell? Like, I didn't know if we talked about. I guess the thing is that me and you, we have fairly similar kind of interests.
Yeah.
Fairly similar. Like, there are definitely some differences in what we listen to. But in terms of the sort of ideas that we hear, they're fairly similar. Uh, and I wonder if someone who has never even looked into any of those ideas at all, they might find it like a bit, oh, what the fuck are they talking about? But like because we've both sort of been exposed to the same ideas for, you know, years, like really, like we already have this baseline that's already above, well, not above, but you know, in terms of the knowledge, this knowledge specifically, that's above like certain individuals, certain uncultured
Mm.
individuals,
Degenerates.
certain degenerates, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
think it's just like, I guess it really shows that there is a variation in like the extent to which different people take an interest in sort of like, the theoretical and the conceptual sort of,
the
pondering and
philosophical,
stuff. Yeah.
the theological,
The
the
historical.
yeah, the political, the uh,
And the economical as well, because obviously we're experts.
the technological.
Of course, of course.
Um, See, now we're just listing off shit that we can put in the
Yeah. Yeah.
what are they called?
The
Uh,
tags.
the tags, yeah.
Yeah. The
Um,
Minecraft too.
my, yeah, we can put intellectual on it next time as well.
Yeah,
On
yeah.
this podcast, you can put intellectual.
High
Even though I think
level.
we've said way less intellectual shit this podcast.
Well,
Um,
we're just
but
getting
that's alright.
started, like.
That's alright. Yeah. I mean, I wanted to talk about the Backrooms,
But
which is
oh,
this
mhm.
creepypasta.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I said I was going to talk about it actually, to you, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
really
yeah.
fucking. I don't know. It's just like this one creepypasta that like I was listening to, and it just captured me in a weird way. So there is just to sort of start this off, and for anyone listening, you know, all like two of you,
Mm.
um, we will wait. Well, there's this thing called liminal spaces. There's actually a subreddit for it, r/liminal space. Um, we actually saw one the other day in by where we live.
Yeah.
Anyway, we these spaces are like they're sort of spaces that should have people that are filmed or photographed in a weird way, where you never see people in them, but contextually think you should. For example, like a school during daytime, but there's no one there. It's completely empty. Maybe it looks a bit run down as well. You know, like as or
Mm.
not like a school, but it'll be like a corridor from the school that you sort of recognize. Oh wait, here's the lockers. There are some classrooms.
I think a
You know,
big element
sh
of the liminal sort of atmosphere is like indoor lighting.
oh definitely the lighting plays a
Like
massive
I
part.
always got this feeling like in primary school, like whenever there was like something like a play or like we were staying, after school at a club, and during the winter it would get dark, right?
Mm,
And you'd just be in the hallway and you'd see like the lights were on and all this, and it's got you this
yeah,
weird feeling.
that is definitely true. I mean, it's just that's what it is. It's sort of places that are familiar, but in a strange context, in a context you haven't seen them before. Often very public spaces. Like you see a lot of like you know, I don't know what we call them in the UK, like malls, you know, like the Bental Centre, you
Mm.
know,
Yeah, like shopping
like
centres.
shopping centres, yeah, just like shopping centres. But it's like, and it sometimes you'll see it at night time, but some of the lights are on, and that's a bit spooky. But I think sometimes even spookier is it's actually daytime, like it looks like noon or whatever, and you see a picture and it's just a completely empty shopping mall, you know, or shopping
What
centre
you
or whatever.
what? Oh, I just realised like this happens a lot when you take a ferry. When there's
A
like not a lot
ferry.
of people, like the big ferries, where they got all the shops and shit, and you can walk around.
Oh,
And like
yeah.
during night time, and like it's often like you'll find areas where there's just not a lot of people.
Well, I mean, think about it now. Like, if you took a lot of, I reckon, like cruise ships probably. Like, I'd imagine that they've been a bit emptier this year because of like COVID and stuff.
Yeah.
There have probably been plenty of opportunities just to like be somewhere like a shopping place on like one of those boats, or whatever. and like film or like take a photo of it, because it's you don't really, there's not really videos, it's more like photos. You could just take a photo of it and it would seem like liminal, because the thing is it seems like in a context where there should be people but there's no one there, and you don't normally see that.
Mm.
Like unless you've been one of the rare few people who've been like in school when there's literally like no one there, like barely anyone there, like you've been really late after school, like you've had detention or some shit until like
Yeah.
five in the afternoon, and not everyone's gone home. Most of the teachers have even gone home. You know, unless you're one of those people, you probably don't really see like a context like that at daytime, especially without people. But I think at nighttime might be like spookier as well. But that's the part about liminal spaces. They're not really meant to be like spooky. It's more like creepy. Here's where it differs from like the Backrooms. The Backrooms is like this creepy pasta,
Yeah,
and
so I've actually got it opened up on the Wiki fandom
oh yeah,
page.
can you show the picture of the yellow room? Can you
Yeah,
show?
yeah, yeah.
Is it possible to show that on the video?
Yeah, I'll see about that, yeah. So, on the, wait, I'll have the wiki opened up as well. Just duplicate that. Because it's got like some steps about accepting your fate. And the first thing is like, so don't panic. Panic causes you to lose your senses and make noise, which may attract unwanted visitors. And I think that's really
Yeah.
interesting, the idea that there are things in there. And so, like,
Well,
once
this
you've
is
accepted that, oh, this is a liminal space, there's no one here, you kind of take that as a given, and then you realize, wait, there are things here? That's even weirder, like, because
well,
they
the thing is
shouldn't.
about the Backrooms is that that particular photo is a liminal space photo,
Yeah.
but the idea of the Backrooms is
It's
even
so
weirder than
cool as
like
well because
the
when you
liminal
look
space.
on the Google images, I'll actually just like screen cap like all of this. It's like all in all these like different mediums, and they all like got like the same theme. They all look so similar, but they're made
Mm.
in like different things.
Yeah, but that original like which one is it? Yeah, that original, I think it's the third one of the ones that you posted. I love the fucking Minecraft one. That's kind of jokes. Um, the third one there, that is like probably the best photo of it. That was like the first post, like photo that someone said this is the Backrooms. I think it was on like a 4chan post or some shit like that. Um,
Where all great
and
things start.
yeah, and everyone was saying that, oh my god, this place seems so familiar. I swear I've been here before. I swear I've seen this place in my dreams, or a bunch of shit like this. And it's debatable whether they actually have seen that specific place before. Probably not, but it's reminiscent of like sort of
It's the shared
for,
qualities.
for me, it's like reminiscent of the Stanley Parable. For me,
Mm.
if you ever played the Stanley
Yeah,
Parable, you're going
I've
to see
seen
all
that.
those yellow buildings, like the yellow office blocks, and there's doors and things like that. But there's no one there. It's completely empty. It's just you, Stanley, and like the narrator there. But these backrooms is sort of like a similar concept. The idea is that there are certain glitches, in reality, like in the Matrix, like there's videos of like planes flying, but they're like standing, well, not standing, but they're just still. They're just like hovering in the air. And whether those videos are fake or not, that's just like an example of like a glitch that supposedly happens. There's a subreddit for it actually, r/glitch in the Matrix, which is just weird like stories, weird encounters with like seemingly impossible coincidences. Either way, the idea this particular glitch in the Matrix is no clipping. So like if you ever played like any game or like most games, I
Any
guess.
source game.
Yeah, any Source game, but also like Jedi Academy. Um, like you can do the no clip command, and then you cease to like interact with walls and objects now and other players. You can just pass through everything. The idea is that occasionally, completely randomly, it could happen to anyone. Most people it will never happen to in their entire life, but it could happen to anyone. They just no clip out of reality, and they end up in these back rooms, right? Which is what that sort of photo is showing. It's it's like this set of infinite rooms and hallways, but it's all the same. Everything's the same. It's all just this yellow, sort of horrid walls with the bright fluorescent lights that have this hum to them, like
Yeah.
that seemingly gets louder and louder the more you go on, you know? And you don't know if there are exits to the back worlds, the back rooms even, and you can enter back to your reality. Who knows? Maybe some time has passed in the real world. Maybe nothing's passed. You know, but you could have been stuck there for ages, and you just got these damp, moldy carpets that you're trotting on, and like. Also, the other thing is that there are potentially entities. There are potentially entities in the back rooms, and it's best to leave them alone. To be honest,
Mm.
what you see with that yellow rooms, a lot of people say is like level zero of the back rooms, and that there's like
Yeah,
four levels.
so there's like a
But
lot of level. I'm seeing that there's so first excursion is levels 0 and 1, and then 2 to 4 is shallow exploration. Deep exploration is 5 to 8.
oh, I didn't know there was 5 to 8. When I looked into it, there were only like four different levels, like zero, one, two, and three. And the way that it was like described is that if you find one of the entrances slash exits to the back rooms, either you have the potential to go back to your base reality, to normal reality, or you could enter, you could go further into the back rooms, but it's even harder to find an exit. And the thing is that if you go to level one, suddenly all the corridors and all the rooms, they seem that much bit smaller, that much bit more like compact, you know?
Mhm.
But at the same time, the lights, they're glowing just a bit more brightly. They're humming just like a bit more loudly, and the entities are like more hostile as well. The further into the back rooms you go, the more just horrific it is basically, you know?
Yeah.
Like the entities, like you don't want to in level zero you could sort of come across an entity and sort of maybe just wait for them to sort of leave. They probably wouldn't like follow you or come after you. In level one they're much more likely to. By like level three or some shit, if you do get in that far, it's like just the corridors are like like in like just really long straight corridors. See, the thing with the back rooms is it's almost like a maze. At levels zero and probably like at level one, it's almost like a maze. But like it's rooms and you got a lot more space. With level three, which was the top level at the last time I checked, or apparently it's like level eight now. But level three, it's just like these really long, straight corridors. And if you encounter an entity there, you are fucked.
Mm.
You are just fucked because, for one, you can't dodge them really that well. They're, because you're just in a long, straight thing. By the time that you've seen one, you might have to run back, hundreds of meters so you can find another corner or whatever that you can turn around at. So it's really, and not to mention, they're far more aggressive, far more hostile when you get to level three. And the exits to the back rooms are even less by this point. Supposedly, as you go, like sometimes as you go up the levels or whatever, the scenery just sort of like does a minor shift,
Mhm.
like it starts off with the yellow and then slowly like you see some more pipes and some more like concrete, and then it's like these sort of grey rooms and shit, like grey concrete rooms as you enter like level one and stuff. It's a whack creepypasta. It's whack.
It sounds like a fucking strangely elaborate like Datura trip.
Yeah,
Like
word.
you can imagine that this is like some sort of like analogy to to a drug experience. Like you meet entities and it's like the senses sort of intensify and all this stuff, and you go deeper and it's harder to come back. Sort of like yeah, just sort of like dissociating from normal reality and entering this strange maze.
Yeah, I mean it could be like an analogy for like going crazy or whatever.
Yeah.
but it's like internal,
Like
you
LSD
know.
psychosis, you just like trip for like months.
Yeah, it would. I find that shit really interesting though. Like most creepypastas, I don't give like half a shit to be honest. Um, but like that one, I just found just interesting, especially with the context of like liminal spaces and stuff. You know, these spaces that sort of creep you out and stuff. And the background is like sort of example of that, just extrapolated to like an even higher degree. You know, like you're just walking through the same shit for ages, for days. You know,
Yeah, they even have like
disturbing.
a they have like a list of stuff that you should bring if you want to go to the back rooms.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is like it could just happen.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, there's no logical reason to think it should happen, but I mean, it could just happen. You could just be transported out of the world. Oh, wait, you were in your bed going to sleep 1 minute. Now you're in the fucking back rooms, going through an infinite maze where you get hunted down by some entities, some
Mm.
evil aliens or whatever, some demon monsters. It's fucking scary, man. I think that's part of it. The fact that it could just happen is that's part of like what makes it sort of more
Yeah.
spooky.
Well, humans like to be entertained by that kind of stuff, you know, like these hypotheticals that are so completely, you know, sort of artificial that we make up for ourselves that we like to think about. They're just sort of
Yeah,
like, it's like taking away all the sort of generality and randomness of normal reality and just really focusing on like one specific, you know, thing and taking it to like such an extreme that you're like, what the fuck? You
mm.
know, and it can be for anything. Like you like to imagine, oh my god, imagine if I had like 6,000 donuts with me.
Big 6,000 donuts. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
That was the idea of like an optimal item to have, like something you'd wish for. Oh, I'd wish I had 6,000
Well, you like to
donuts.
think about it, you know, or like just any excess of something or some very specific scenario where it's like, yeah, it's just all these yellow rooms. Like, there's nothing but that. It just goes on forever.
It is quite kind of scary. I mean, the fact that people said like, "Oh, I swear I've seen this in my dreams before." I mean, that is kind of weird. Like the idea is that sometimes when you're dreaming, maybe your body doesn't go there, but your mind like fucking can like enter it or some shit, and maybe you're trapped there for a bit, you know? Like maybe you are just maybe occasionally you have gone there and you're just trapped for like a few hours or whatever, because it's not like permanent. I mean, you wouldn't know really if you've been dreaming about it.
Yeah.
I mean, dreams fuck up your sense of time already, you know. It is spooky. I do agree with you though. Like it is one of those things where like humans just sort of think of an extreme for like a sort of scenario. In this case, it's like office buildings and stuff. But I wonder, I don't know if like the Stanley Parable came out because of it, because I only just sort of realized and like thought about that.
I think it sort of taps into similar ideas. I don't think
Well, it definitely
they
does that.
necessarily have like any sort of literal connection.
Well, I
Maybe
don't
they
think
do.
like the guy funded it from that, but I wonder if the guy who made it, I think his name was like Dave or something. Uh, Davy Reedon. Yeah, it's Davy Reedon, I think. Imagine. I wonder if he like if he saw that and then he made the game, because I'm not actually sure when Stanley Parable came out. But that is a very similar scenario where you are just trapped in these rooms. You're not really sure how you got there. There's no one there, and you're just stuck in this office building, this massive office building that goes on for ages. And as you go further into it, constantly the world degenerates. Like you start seeing more and more weird shit. You see stuff out of fashion. You see glitches. The Stanley Parable is a really really interesting game. It's very similar to like what the Backrooms kind of is trying to show. Even that, and it's kind of yellow as well, which is just I don't know if that's a weird coincidence or whatever.
Mm. Yeah, It's cool to think about.
Definitely. I wonder if that guy's made any more games actually. I'm gonna look it up on Steam. Because that guy made some. He made the beginner's guide as well.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you know that game.
yeah, I do.
Yeah, that game was weird as well. I played that. That game was fucking strange. Like, have you played it?
I've watched a playthrough of it.
You know, as he like slowly gets like more depressed and shit.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really weird. It's fucking dark. I was watching someone play it who actually had like depression. Well, I don't know if he had it at the time, but he's like dealt with it before, and he was like, "Oh shit, this. I don't know if I should play this game. Like, this is getting really dark." And he was calling it like before this happens, and it was like, "Oh my god, this whole thing is just this whole analogy, this whole metaphor.
Yeah.
You know, that's what this game is." And it's like, "Oh my days." But I don't know if he's made anything else. Developer, everything unlimited, everything unlimited, limited.
Hmm.
No, he hasn't made any other games. It's literally just the Stanley Parable and the Beginner's Guide. That's weird. I wonder what happened to him.
Yeah, 'cause wasn't the thing with the beginner's guide like he made it, but he didn't want to put it out, and then a friend of his got it, and he released it.
No, it's the other way around. I mean, he was talking about how he was the friend.
Uh huh.
Yeah, he was the narrator who
Oh,
was
and
the
he like
friend.
remade the things that his friend like.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and tried to make like a story out of it and tried to narrativize it and stuff like that.
Mm.
When in reality, his friend was just. It wasn't like necessarily depression. It's just he wanted to do what he wanted to do. He's a bit of a weird guy. He just liked making sort of half-functional games. It was a hobby for him, whatever. And this guy was so deeply trying to make a narrative out of it, so deeply trying to like change it from what it from what the mate from what his friend actually tried to do with it by like adding in. I think he like added in those lampposts and shit, and that was like a part of it. Like at the end, it's like the guy who made the games is like leaving him messages and shit. Like, why do you keep adding lampposts to my games and stuff? You know, why do you keep doing this shit? It's like, because yeah, ah, and you don't know like what if the friend is actually like depressed or if it's just the guy who's depressed, if it's just the creator. Um, maybe he's depressed because he's driven off someone who he thought didn't really have enough human contact as it is, and he felt like betrayed. Oh, it is really weird. Oh, here we go. Here. I found this fucking wiki page.
How old was he when he made like the games?
I'm not sure. Um, yeah, I don't know. Um, doesn't say how old he is. Stanley Parable came out in 2011 though. Um, when did the Beginner's Guide come out? Oh shit, he's got a Twitter page. I wonder if there's anything going on here. Oh yeah, he's still alive. I was wondering if he'd killed himself or some shit.
Mm.
I think the beginner's guide came out in about like 2015 or something. I think. I don't know though. But yeah, no, that shit is weird. I mean, the beginner's guide has got like sort of a lot of sort of strange themes to it. It is almost like a sort of horror game. Not like a horror game. There's no like jump scares or anything. It's just that it like creeps you out and like disturbs you in like a really sort of psychological sort of way, you know?
Yeah. But there's something really enticing about it, you know? Like,
Oh, definitely.
you're like, ah, this is the real deal, you know? Like, this is real. This has
Yeah.
actually come from, like, some person's, like, real experience. And,
I mean, like we don't know if the beginner's guide is like a factual thing. That's the thing. Like we don't know if it's like a factual story where like he did actually do that shit and his friend's real. I mean, it's not necessarily the case, but that guy, I mean, either he's just a really good actor, which already means you're a little fucked up as a person, I think. Like, I think that's a given.
mm,
Or that he's channeling some shit that he has definitely already gone through in some way, you know?
mhm.
Either way, you know, it's fucking weird. But you know, I find it strange that he hasn't made any more games. I mean,
Has he done anything, like, else since? Or is it just, like,
I don't think so. Most people feel a bit woozy the day after getting their vaccine, so it's just something to plan for when scheduling yours. What? Everything he's talking about is vaccines. Oh wait, no. I think that's just a few tweets. No, he's doesn't really. I don't know if he's really made anything. Doesn't seem like he has. This random Reddit post I stumbled onto might be one of the most powerful things I've ever read about Christianity. Shit, do you want to read this?
fuck yeah.
Let's have a look at this. Have you played the Stanley Parable?
No.
Oh,
No, I've watched people play both games, I haven't played either.
you should play the Stanley Parable. There's so many different like endings and shit. It's
Mm.
one of the ones where you go through like different worlds, like different game worlds and shit. Like I think you go to like Portal or some shit, and then you're like in Minecraft or some shit. It's really weird.
Yeah, yeah, I think I remember that.
LGBT religious people, how do you reconcile your identity and your religion? Yeah, this is too long. I don't actually give a shit. I'm sorry. Sorry, Davey.
So was that on this Reddit?
No, I think it was just an Ask Reddit thread. I don't think it was even him. I think he just retweeted it.
Uh-huh.
Oh wait, I think he streams. He's got a Twitch page. Let's have a look. Man, he's inactive. Um, I'm Davey. I like to make video games, the Stanley Parable, the Beginner's Guide. He doesn't even have any videos. Hmm. Spooky. Spooky.
I'm on r/news. Airspace now restricted over Biden's home.
Oh, I saw that. Fucking hell.
It's funny because people be like, when they put up like extra like fences around the White House, people are like, haha, this is proof that Trump is evil. And then this happens, and people will be like, man, it's sad that there's people in this country who would think of doing such a thing. You know?
It's sad that all Trump supporters are deranged lunatics with shotguns who will hunt down any Democrat.
Yeah. They're all playing GTA and they're like, I'll get my jet fighter over Biden's house, I'll drop a payload.
I know it's ridiculous. I mean, what are we really expecting Trump to launch some fucking missiles at Joe Biden's house? Or like, I
Maybe
mean, you
it's
couldn't
the
even do that. If you, that's just the airspace.
so the deep state, right? They're used to using the airspace like at 9/11, right?
Yeah,
So they're like that's what they're thinking about. They're like, man, what would we do if we wanted to get rid of Biden? We'd like do some sort of plane thing.
yeah,
So they're like, let's just restrict the airspace.
yeah. They probably are thinking like, oh shit, what's going to happen? When in reality, like, I don't think anyone's going to really assassinate Joe Biden.
And people are too lazy to fucking fight a civil war. Like, come on, you got
I was
Netflix.
thinking like we could just have. What if America was like, like two and then three different countries? I'm thinking like India and Pakistan and Bangladesh.
Mhm.
You know how like originally Pakistan and Bangladesh it was like one country,
Yeah.
even though they don't share like a border or anything. Um, and it was basically the idea was that's where the Muslims went and the Hindus went in India, right?
Mhm.
I'm thinking, why don't we just do the same shit with America now? We could have like the middle of America and like a lot of the South, yeah, could be one big country, Trump land.
Mhm.
And then, the West Coast and the East Coast can make one big country, even though they're not really don't really have borders.
See, I think the Bangladesh thing would happen, and they'd be like, "Fuck you guys, we're completely different
Well,
now."
that's what I'm going to go on to. I was going to say, like, after they decide to do that, because originally they're going to be like, we need to stay divided against, no, no, not divided. We need to stay united against foreign threats and Trumpocrats. Um, and then, but eventually, yeah, you are right. They are gonna fucking. I was thinking that. That's why I said in like Bangladesh and Pakistan, because like it's gonna be like that. They're gonna still be like it's gonna be similar. They're both gonna be like liberal. Not that Pakistan and Bangladesh is liberal, but in the same way that like Pakistan and Bangladesh are both like Muslim areas. Like the West Coast and the East Coast will both be like, you know, the liberal wimps, leftist cowards, and the
Not
and
to
the
get
and
political, but
and the middle of it will be deranged Trump authoritarians who want Trump to be like a fascist demagogue.
we need to preserve liberty by putting everyone in jail.
Ain't no making crimes if there ain't no one free.
That's true. Ain't no making crimes if there's no laws either.
That's true, and that's why we need to ban all laws. We need to ban laws.
Abolish laws.
Yeah, we don't need laws anymore. You know, just let us do
They're ridiculously
what we want
outdated.
to
There's
do.
there's like no fucking law that's not outdated.
Exactly. Let's just get rid of laws. We can go completely like anarcho primitivist, but also not
It
primitivist.
doesn't need to be primitivist. It can just be anarcho, whatever.
I'm gonna
The
go
the thing
primitivist.
about anarchism is like all the adjective anarchism is kind of redundant because it's like, well, you can't enforce that ideology. The point of anarchism is that everyone just does whatever flavor they want to.
Yeah, I mean, if people agreed, then they could go and make a community that is exclusively like that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like that's the thing, you would have different like anarchist communities. Some places wouldn't be anarchism because the people would
And then
anarchistic
you would
decide
have
that
like
anarchism is bad.
you would have anarchistic natural selection where the best forms of anarchism succeed until they become the new status quo and then states come back and everything's back to the way it used to be. Well,
Exactly. And
maybe
just
in a different way
do that
than
every
right
few
now.
hundred years, right?
Yeah.
Every 200 years. Let's just say every 200 years, you have a complete, just clean slate, you know? Tabula rasa, The whole thing is just wiped clean, no laws. And let's just see what happens for the next 100 years. We'll see what the best shit like is, and then more states will just come about because eventually people will be like, no, we need some laws because my son just got murdered, and no one's going to do anything about it. We
Yeah.
do need some laws, and those people will like decide what laws they want.
And here's
They
the
might
thing,
set up a
somebody will
viewpoint or
hear
two.
that and they'll be like, "What? How can you, permit that to happen? Obviously, we know already." Well, no isn't the problem, right? People have their sons killed all the time and nobody gives a shit. So, what difference is it really going to make? Maybe there's a chance to just crumble everything and figure out something that will actually deal with that issue.
Hmm.
Because there's the thing, like humanity, right? It's a process, right? People are like, oh, we need to avoid this chaos, right? We need to avoid it at all costs. But if we're like getting tangled up into a knot that is preventing us from reaching our full potential, then we're naturally just gonna break down a little bit to find a different way.
Either the knot has to break or we have to break.
Yeah.
For any sort of change. You know, eventually. We can't tie ourselves down. What do you think? Like, do you think there is any like meaning in the universe? Do you think part of the chaos? Do you think the chaos that like is 2020? Like, so much shit has happened this year, like the COVID, the fucking riots, the election, and possibly ensuing civil war. Um, the aliens, the Pentagon saying that they officially have found like unidentified flying objects, like admitting it, saying
Mhm.
they have no clue what they are. Like, do you think there is like a role this chaos is playing in the future of humanity?
Well, it's certainly playing a role. When it comes to meaning, I have a pretty straightforward view on this whole meaning of life thing. It's that, well, so to speak, the meaning of life is to find your purpose, right? It's on, like, the meaning doesn't come from the universe. We impose meaning onto the universe. And so it's your role, your job, to find a purpose for yourself in this reality. And if you refuse to get one, then you're gonna have to accept the fact that you feel like you don't have one. And it's like, don't expect it to be handed to you, because the universe isn't doing any of that. You are the only thing that is capable of even conceiving of the concept of meaning, let alone actually imposing it onto reality. You are the universe doing that to itself, and so don't expect it to do it from like outside your yourself. It has to come from within.
Yeah, I mean that's quite interesting actually. Like it's almost like you expect the universe to like help you, but you are the universe doing that.
Yeah.
That is actually quite an interesting idea. Actually, I quite like that. Yeah, actually, that's pretty deep.
On that note, we're approaching 1.5 hours,
All
so
right.
it might be time to wrap up. I feel like this was a good one.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to do some? Do you want to play that outro music?
Uh,
the,
so
the
so
Discord shit.
so we're gonna do the King of the Studio, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Fucking play that, and we can talk while it's playing, and we can just end it, sign off.
All right, I think yeah, it's playing. All right. So, any closing statements?
Um, I would like to say that the future of humanity is clouded, but every day something new occurs, and
Yeah.
that that changes things.
Indeed, it does. Thank
So,
you for tuning in,
yeah.
everyone. Uh,
Cheers, people.
hope to see you soon. Don't let the deep state keep you down, because deep down you know that you're right.
Everyone, the answer to 1984 is
Is
1776.
1776. That's right. Finito.
Support Infowars.com.
Buy my
But
calendar.
buy Majid's calendar
Yeah.
and yeah, laters.
Adios.